importantly, he is Illinois' transportation czar, the keeper of the purse. He is the key player in bringing federal transportation dollars to the state of Illinois. Our guest today is a Democrat in a Republican-controlled United States House of Representatives, and he still delivers. Our guest today is a public servant who knows the details, and we in Illinois are fantastically fortunate to have him there. We are the beneficiaries of his many successes: airports, the CTA's Blue Line, the Brown Line, the Orange Line, also known as Lipinski Line down there, highways, highway safety, infrastructure, Metro, the Heritage Corridor, light rail, passenger facility charges, freight railroads, mass transit, the Central Avenue bypass, surface transportation, and on and on and on. All of these things are very important to us, but nothing is more important to our featured speaker today as his family. His wife, Rosemarie, his son, Daniel, and daughter, Laura, and his two grandchildren, Brian and Connor. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the City Club of Chicago, Congressman Bill Lipinski. Your Honor.
Thank you, thank you. I only have 2 minutes, so sit down. Jay, is there anybody you forgot to introduce? I'd be happy to pick it up for you if I have to. First of all, I want to say thank you very much for you all being here. I appreciate that. Secondly, I don't know any more about the war situation than I see on television, even though we are fortunate in the House that we're briefed every day. We're in session by the Secretary of Defense, Don Rumsfeld. Just about everything that we get from him, you also see on television as fast as we get it. So I have no inside scoop whatsoever. I would like to ask everyone here, though, to bow their head for a moment in silence for our fine men and women who are fighting this war in representing the United States of America so magnificently. Thank you very much. I was credited with doing an awful lot of things, and it said that I achieved these things in a House of Representatives where I'm in a minority, which is very, very true. Fortunately, though, about 15, 16 years ago, there was a rather chubby fella who used to be a wrestling coach, lived out someplace along the Fox River. And he came to Washington, D.C., and I had already been there. And he was assigned to the, at that time, Public Works and Transportation Committee. And I was there, as I say, for a few years. I was in the majority, but he seemed like an awfully nice fella, so I took a liking to him. And I helped him out as much as I could. In fact, he and I managed to pass a little legislation along the way working together. Well, in the business that I'm in, many people, when they move on to higher office, greater influence, they often forget some of the people that they knew along the way. But in the case of Dennis Hastert, that definitely has not occurred. Since he has become the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, he has remembered that Democrat on the Public Works and Transportation Committee that aided and assisted him, and in regards to all transportation matters in the state of Illinois, he and I have worked very, very closely together. We will continue to work closely together because his number one goal is to take care of Illinois, and my number one goal is to take care of Illinois And I also am very much interested in taking care of the city that I've lived for the past 65 years, the city of Chicago. So, anything that I accomplished in Washington, D.C. is certainly helped at the present time by my association, my cooperation with the Speaker of the United States House. And I've often said this for public record, you can't have a better friend. He's a man that knows how to get things done. And hopefully he and I will get a lot of things done in regards to transportation this year in the House. I also want to point out one individual who I really learned all my skills from. When I first got elected alderman of the 23rd Ward of the city of Chicago, there was a powerful man who used to sit outside the door of Richard J. Daley's office. And every time I wanted to go see Daley, I'd have to go and see him. And he would always have some reason why I couldn't get in to see Daley. But he also had some excellent advice for me. Now, he couldn't give me an awful lot of advice when he was sitting out in front of Daley's office, but then he got another office downstairs where it was more private. And at that time, he taught me a lot of things about politics, a lot of things about government, and I've never forgotten him, and that's my good friend Tom Donovan. Thomas, I know you've been introduced once, but I want to introduce you again. All right, now we're working on the Highway, Transit, and Railroad bill at the present time in Washington, D.C. Tim Martin over here is very interested in that. So is Miguel, the bridge repairer, Descoto. We in the House of Representatives would like to see a bill come in at $375 billion over the 6 years that the bill will be in operation. The budget that we passed in the House was passed for only $245 billion for this highway and transit bill. But they did give us the opportunity at some time in the next couple of months to bring to the floor our bill. And there is enough money. If we can pass our bill on the floor, we can come out with $375 billion over 6 years for highways, transit, and railroads in this nation, and that's what our goal is. The Senate came in at $311 billion. The administration is only at $237 billion. So you see that we have a great deal of work to do to reach the $375 billion. And we came up with the figure $375 billion because that's exactly what the administration late last year said we needed in the next highway bill was $375 billion. So the House came to that point. I shouldn't say the House. It's the House Infrastructure and Transportation Committee has come up with the way to fund that. Sometime later on this year, as I say, we will have a very big, important vote on that particular bill. I would assume that it would come probably sometime in June, because the chairman told me last week that he wants to pass the bill out of the House by July, so that when we come back from the August recess in September, we can conference with the Senate, pass it into law late in September, and have it ready to go October the 1st. Now, the most important thing for Illinois in the highway bill is to get the formula that decides how much a state is going to get changed. I'll give you an example. In the T21 bill, which is the present bill we're operating under, 3.3% of all the monies in this bill come to the state of Illinois. And that is a grand total of $5.5 billion. But in the ICE-T bill, the bill that preceded the present T21 bill, we were getting back 3.7% of all the monies in the bill. If we were still getting that back, we'd be getting back an extra $500 million for the state of Illinois. We're trying to change the formula so that we get up to 3.9% of the total package. Estimating that if we are successful in doing that for the state of Illinois, we would get back over the course of the next 6 years of the highway bill for Illinois, roughly $7 billion. There's an awful lot of things you can do with the $7 billion. As I say, this is our number one priority. The Speaker and I have been working on this for over 7 months. We've got the rest of the Illinois delegation involved in it also, and it's tremendously important for us to change this formula. And I won't go into what happened to us 6 years ago, but the Senate made a move in regards to transit, and because of that, they reduced our overall funding share. It was a big mistake. I said so at that particular time, but there were some people who were in support of it, and it was allowed to go through. The second thing we want to change is that each congressional district gets what is called high priority projects. High priority projects are things that a congressman really needs in their district, which I'm sure Paul Green understands entirely. In the T21 bill, the bill that we operated under at the present time, the demonstration projects money comes out of the formula portion of the bill. So for the 6 years of the existing bill, we are getting $185 million back that's going into each one of the congressional districts in Illinois, requested by the individual members of Congress. But that comes out of your formula money. The bill before this, it didn't come out of the formula money. It was a special pot of money. We want to change that around because we believe, with my position on the Infrastructure and Transportation Committee, Congressman Costello from Southern Illinois is a high-ranking member of that committee also. Congressman Tim Johnson is on the committee from Southern Illinois, and with the Speaker so involved in transportation, we assume that there'll be an awful lot of projects that will be approved for those particular individuals in their own congressional district. So we want to have a special pot of money for high priority projects that do not come out of the formula funding. All right, let's see, what's next? Oh, next on the agenda would be, we have to create another category that doesn't come out of the formula, doesn't come out of the district demonstration projects. These are for mega projects, because Commissioner Miguel over here needs $250 million to repair, rebuild, shore up the rest of Wacker Drive. We don't want that coming out of the formula money. We need a special mega category for these kind of projects. But Miguel's project isn't the biggest project in Illinois. In the Metro East area, across from St. Louis, Jerry Costello says he absolutely has to build a new bridge down there, spanning the Mississippi River. Oh, I see the laborers over there. Yeah, they're organized labor is really all for this one, there's no question about it. Those building trades, yes. This bridge is going to cost, now this is real money we're talking about, $1.7 billion. $1.7 billion. So that's why we need this very, very special category of mega projects. Now, I am going to somewhat cut this short because really I do have to go someplace else. And I know that you probably have a few questions. So let me just, I went into detail in regards to the highway portion of the bill because the vast majority of the money coming into the state of Illinois out of this bill goes into highways. But it also covers transit projects, CTA, Metra, PACE. The number one project for Metra is the Star Line. And as I was sitting in the Speaker's office a couple of weeks ago or so, and we were talking about all the transportation stuff, and we were really on highways, and then all of a sudden he says to me, "What do you think of that Star Line?" And I says, "Well, since it runs out there where all your constituents are, I think it's probably a pretty good project. And he said, you think you'll be able to get that authorized for me in the bill? I says, well, I tell you, Mr. Speaker, if I can't do it, I says, I know a guy who can do it, and he's sitting right over there. That's Mike Stokey. He's your deputy chief of staff. Just talk to him. He'll get it done for you. He'll mention your name. So the Star Line is very important, number one, for Metro. Metro has a number of other things in there also. Some reauthorization, some new starts in there. The CTA under Frank Cruzy, the czar of transportation in the city of Chicago, and all deference to Miguel over there, and Miguel would say the same thing. He wants to build his Circle Line, which is very important, which I support, which is their number one priority. And right now I have it as my number one priority, but in reality, my number one priority is Ogden Avenue, Cermak Road from, I want to build a new trolley that's going to run from Navy Pier out to 22nd in Harlem. But don't tell Frank I said that. And my number two priority is the extension of the Orange Line from Midway Airport to Ford City, but don't tell Frank I said that either. We're really with Central Ave, the Central one. That's the one we really want. And then Frank has a number of other reauthorizations and a few new ones also. PACE, all PACE wants to do is have an intelligence system by which their buses will always be on time and know where to go and know where to connect up with Metra and the CTA. And that's relatively inexpensive. They only want $180 million. Terrible throwing around numbers like that, $180 million. But then we go back to that bridge, $1.7 billion. I'm surprised Gannon hasn't run out and started signing up people down there, the East St. Louis area yet. I'm also introducing a national railroad infrastructure program. We have to do an awful lot of work in regards to railroads in this country, particularly freight railroads. Their infrastructure really needs a lot of improvement. Here in the city of Chicago, we have a tremendous bottleneck. They often say it takes 2 days to get from California, Chicago, and it takes another day to get through Chicago on its way to the East Coast. There's a plan called the Chicago Rail Plan that the railroads have gotten together on. The city of Chicago has gotten together on it. The state of Illinois is involved in it. I'm involved in it. Some other people are involved in it. So that's one thing we want to do here in the city of Chicago. But the other thing is, I say I'm trying to pass a aviation, highways, transit, all have their own dedicated trust fund. I want to create a dedicated trust fund for railroads, and that would be freight railroads, it would be commuter railroads, and it would be Amtrak also. And the last thing I'll say before I start taking questions is we just passed a supplemental appropriation bill to support our war effort, and tacked on there was $3.2 billion for the commercial aviation in this country. And what it is that all the money that they have paid and passengers have paid for security since 9/11 is going to, up to the end of this year, is going to be refunded to them to help them stay flying. And I don't know if you folks realize it, but this country's commercial aviation really is in dire straits. This infusion of cash is really necessary. If we get the consolidation in the aviation industry that I think might be coming, I believe the only way to make sure the country is not cut up into areas where one carrier monopolizes it and where the fares go through the sky is by looking seriously at re-regulating the commercial aviation in this country. I think that's where we're at. Unless something miraculous occurs very shortly, I think we're going to have a real consolidation in commercial aviation in this country. So that's a quick rundown of some of the things I'm involved with at the present time. And as I say seriously, I don't have a lot of time, so I'm cutting short a lot of the details. But whoever wants to ask questions, I'm ready to go.
Microphone's right over there. Line up, be
Joyce Saxon. I'm on the board of the City Club of Chicago. Congressman, is there any future at all near term for high-speed rail between the cities that surround us, like Minneapolis, St. Louis?
Well, there might be a possibility of that if we can pass my railroad trust fund bill. That's probably the best chance. Other than that, I just don't see it occurring in the near future. And when I'm talking about the near future, I'm talking 5 to 10 years. Commercial aviation has to shake out somewhat because high-speed rail is really connected with commercial aviation in this country. That has to shake out. The economy itself has to be improved. And some people who are interested in it really have to get serious about pushing high-speed rail. And the only way you're going to be able to do it is you have to have a dedicated funding source, and a railroad trust fund would be a dedicated funding source.
I'm Rick Harnish. I'm with the Midwest High Speed Rail Coalition. We're a nonprofit grassroots group trying to push the concept of a high-quality intercity passenger rail service hubbed in Chicago. And I would like to say we are very serious about promoting the concept. And also just thank you very much for your efforts and your leadership in promoting the railroad infrastructure program, which is so very important to our efforts and also to the economy of the city. And thank you again for that.
You're welcome. Anybody else have a question?
Take two more, one and anyone else. So if you're waiting for that last question, make your move right now.
Mr. Congressman,
The 23rd ward title.
Mr. Congressman, my name is Andrew Hyman. I work for PricewaterhouseCoopers, and talk about rescuing the airline industry. Yes, the airline industry has suffered because of the attacks they received, but I think a lot of people would argue the airline industry has brought this upon themselves through possible mismanagement or not looking at new ways of doing things like Southwest. What guarantee that we have, if we give this bailout, are we going to, and what happens if we don't see the improvement? Where do we go next?
Well, first of all, not everything that has hurt the airlines has come from 9/11. I agree with you. The airlines were in trouble before 9/11. What we are doing with this $3.2 billion is simply returning to them the monies that they have paid or collected for airline security. So it's a reimbursement, it's not a bailout. I can guarantee you that this will be the last penny that any commercial airline receives from the federal government for the foreseeable future, because the administration was not really in support of this particular piece of legislation at all. They would rather see a number of airlines go into liquidation. They firmly believe that that's the best thing for commercial aviation. It might be the best thing for the stockholders of commercial aviation to wind up owning stock in commercial aviation that's making money, but I don't think it'd be that good of an idea for the passengers, because as I say, the more consolidation you get, the higher those fares are going to go. It's been proven time after time. Well, first of all, there's Paul Nowicki back there from Burlington Northern Santa Fe. He'll be happy to tell you everything about it. But the reason you can't do it is they've got all these freight railroad trains running all over the Chicagoland area, and they take precedent. There's a metro line that I'm very interested in called the Heritage Corridor. It has 3 trains in the morning, 3 trains at night. The reason for that is because 4 freight railroads cross it, and the metro train has to stop because of these freight railroad trains crossing it. Now, in the Chicago Railroad plan, I've gotten the railroads committed to building 2 overpasses for this. And I'm working on Metro to get them to build me 2 overpasses, because if we can get those 4 overpasses, Phil Pagano told me we would go from 3 trains in the morning to 15 trains in the morning, and you would see how much that would improve service on that line. But as far as putting the CTA on there, Bert, it's a nice idea, but believe me, it's never going to work. But as I say, Paul Nowicki back there, he's sitting right behind the mic. He'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. Well, the Metro already has a plan to go from Midway to O'Hare Airport. they can't implement that plan. In fact, they got it authorized 6 years ago, but they don't want to do anything with it at the present time because in the consolidation of the railroads in the Chicagoland area, in the Chicago rail plan, that particular route is going to become very, very heavily used. And you have to remember, Bert, as they keep telling me, they own their own property. They own their own tracks. They don't take any money from the federal government, the state government, you know, free enterprise. Of course, talk to them about the Alameda Corridor. Now, Paul Nowicki, was that the Eastern Railroads or the Western Railroads?
Only a few of the railroads.
Only a few of the railroads. Okay.
Michael Stavey, I'm an energy economist. The question I had since you brought it up is this trust fund that's going to go to the freight railroads.
It wouldn't go to, no, it would go to the federal government, then they would give out the money to freight railroads, to
Where's it-
Amtrak, and also to commuters.
Where's it going to come from? Is it a systems benefits charge, a
Same,
general
same
tax?
place it comes from everybody. Ultimately, it comes from the taxpayers in one way, shape, or form. A large portion of it would come from import duties, which now go into the general revenue. We're going to take 10% of all import duties and put it into the railroad trust fund.
Will there be a tax on rail use of some type to fund it, like there is on the airlines or the gasoline
There would be
tax?
something similar to that, yes.
Thank you.